The first amphibious landing took place in 1778 at Fort Nassau. Since then, a lot has changed. Modern missiles can be fired from hundreds of kilometers away, and this has dramatically changed naval warfare. I'll be looking into how a modern naval invasion would happen. In order to conduct a naval invasion, you must find the right beach to land on. First, the water near the beach must have enough depth for large assault ships to land and deploy troops. It can't be too shallow as the ships will be beached. So information about the underwater seabed must be found. The beach also must be relatively flat for aquatic vehicles to land and drive up. Areas where there are cliffs or hills can be easily defended by the enemy, because they can create choke points on the beach that the invading troops must go through. The density and wetness of the sand can also affect vehicles, as they can get bogged down or stuck in wet sand. Nearby objectives like towns and crossroads are also factors, as you must use roads for armies to travel down. Rivers are also a problem because the enemy could destroy the bridges, which could delay your troops from getting across and give the enemy time to prepare. Along with this, knowing where enemy troop positions are is also important, as you don't want their reinforcements getting to the battle quickly. All of these things are major factors in preparing for a naval invasion. The first operational part of a naval invasion would be securing the ocean. Invading naval forces would need to destroy or push back any opposing warships in order for the landing ships to have a better chance of survival. Once the waters are secure, the invading side's naval forces will bombard the beach with missiles and cannons in order to soften up the enemy defenses. Due to the threat of ground-launched anti-ship missiles, invading warships may have to stay further away from the shore. This is one of the main difficulties, as in order to support the landing ships, the destroyers and frigates need to get up close to the beach, but by doing this, you put these ships in danger. The US Amphibious Landing Doctrine says they can't land on a contested beach, so if there are enemy fortifications or troops on the beach and its surrounding area, they have to be bombarded and destroyed from far-off ships and aircraft before the landing ships come in. This is because with the introduction of anti-ship missiles, it has become very dangerous to send dozens or hundreds of ships to a beach. The entire fleet of smaller landing craft could be destroyed by shoulder-launched missiles or larger land-based missiles. The horrors of the deadly Normandy landings may also have a part to play in this doctrine, as the US would want to prevent the amount of casualties during the landings. But realistically, the United States may not always get to pick and choose when and where it does its landings. If the situation was desperate, they may be forced to conduct an amphibious landing on an enemy-held beach. This is why I don't think the US and its allies should fully rely on its current amphibious landing doctrine, and instead be prepared for the worst-case scenario. Once the invading side's warships and frigates have secured the ocean and have bombarded the beach, the larger warships, such as amphibious assault ships or amphibious warfare ships, will launch the amphibious landing craft. These boats will carry the first wave of infantry and vehicles to land and attack the beach. Other vehicles, like assault amphibious vehicles, are launched as well. They can carry a squad of infantry, but their main purpose is to bring armor onto the beach as quickly as possible. After the boats and amphibious tanks have landed and deployed the first wave of infantry, the beachhead should be taken. After this, the second and third waves can be put on the beach in order to push up into the countryside and capture the nearby towns. Meanwhile, more and more tanks and infantry groups will be delivered onto the beach in order to continue the offensive. Airborne troops and paratroopers are also a factor. Before the Normandy landings, American paratrooper divisions were dropped from hundreds of planes behind the German lines in order to confuse and cause chaos for the Germans. They were able to distract the Germans away from the landings. Today, anti-air missiles are so effective that having hundreds of planes fly over and deploy paratroopers would be very dangerous. Instead, helicopters would be used to deploy squads of soldiers behind the enemy lines, to cause chaos. Helicopters are slow, making them easy targets, but they can fly close to the ground, making them harder to track with radars. Helicopters can also be launched, from warships instead of runways, which are dozens of kilometers away. Aircraft carriers can launch invading helicopters, but they can also launch bombers to attack ground troops, artillery, and missile positions. They can also hold off enemy aircraft which are trying to attack warships and landing craft. This is how a modern naval landing would take place. Like and subscribe to see more content like this.